So moving forward with our tutorials on how to use Adobe Premiere, one of the things that we have to do next is we have to do a transition slide between this opening video. If we go back to the beginning, we did like a scene with the Northside logo, and then the next thing was Mr. West talking. On the last video, we actually cut out the tail end of the walking toward that. So now the next thing is there should be a transition because the next scene that we're working on is, when people actually enter the building, clean in and clean out, and water bottles is the next section. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to refer to the project media here, and I need the slide that says entering the building, clean in and clean out. So I'm going to take this JPEG file and I'm going to click and drag it onto the timeline. And by default, it actually goes onto the timeline, I think, for approximately, let's take a look here. If I double click on it. So it goes on for exactly like 5 seconds, give or take. Now there's a problem with this. Actually, if I preview the slide, if I go take my time, actually this one worked out all right. But sometimes if you get to this and you see that the slide is smaller than the output ratio here, and you might not notice it in the preview panel to the left, but if you notice that your slide, your JPEG file is too small, what you can do is you just right click on it and then you click on scale to frame size, and then that makes sure that whatever the size of the video was right here ends up being the same size as what the slide is going to be on the timeline. So luckily that took care of itself. So that brings us to then, well, what are we doing next? Well, we have a scene in which Mr. West is entering the building. So what we're going to do is we're going to move to that particular video clip, and I'm going to click and I'm going to drag it into timeline. And one of the reasons that I noticed we need to kind of look at this one is I think that we had an issue. I think we need to trim a little bit off the end. So I'm going to click on the video clip, and then I'm going to double click, and that puts us into the clip editor. So let's kind of take a look at the clip in the editor and see if we need to do anything to it. Okay, so you hear that little crackle at the end here. We don't want that crackle as part of our video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this guy to the point where I'm going to cut the video off. So I kind of want to have him move in that direction when I cut him off. That's probably about the spot where I'm going to cut him off. So in the editor, if I want to mark it out, if I want to end the clip right there, I just simply click on this little link right here that says mark out. So I click it, and it trimmed it off the edge there. Our next little scene then is going to be him showing us how to use the water filler station. So I'm going to try to find that clip here in the series of videos. And let's see. So it's going to be right here. This is MAH8. So I'm actually going to place it on the timeline exactly next to where it was before. Once again, I'm going to preview it in the clip editor. So I'm going to click on it and then double click. So let's see if there's anything dumb that happens at the beginning that I need to trim out, and if there's anything I need to trim out at the end. So looking at the audio level, that actually worked out. And that's probably the perfect place to bring it to an end, is right there. So I'm going to do the same thing I did before. I'm going to mark out. It trims off the end, and now we're clean to go. So that's how you basically place things into the timeline. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to change gears. Now I've already edited the whole entirety of this video, and I've already made the video. The job that you students are going to have is to make your own video with these pieces. But I wanted to show you then how to do transitions. So I'm going to go back to the very beginning of the video, and I'm going to go all the way here. I'm in the preview. So I'm right there at the beginning. Now when that starts, I don't want it to just start off as a static image. I actually want it to fade in. Well, the question is, how do I apply a fade in to the beginning of this? And the answer is, if you go here to right above Media Browser Libraries, and then you click this arrow, one of the things that you should be able to pick are what are known as effects. So if I click effects, what will happen is we have a whole bunch of different type of effects that you can put in there. We're actually going to do what are called video transitions. And if I click on video transitions, there's a whole bunch of different types of transitions that you can do. You can zoom in, zoom out, wipe, etc. The most common one that we're going to use for today's project is dissolve. So I click dissolve. One of the ones that I want to be able to do is known as cross dissolve. And so if I click on cross dissolve and I drag it to the very beginning of the video, and you'll notice there's like a little a rectangle that's like got a little triangle through it. You know it's being applied to the very beginning of that clip. If I click and I drag it there, you'll notice that the thing fades in, and I'm actually going to play it. You'll see it fade in the preview. So you saw it fade in. Now here's the trick that you can do too, is that let's say you think that fade in is too quick. If I zoom in using that bar and I double click where it says cross dissolve, I click on it. Right now the transition duration is 1 second. Let's say I want that to be like 3 seconds instead, or 2. You can simply just change the value. So I'm going to pick 2. And then what you'll notice is this rectangle got longer on the timeline. And then I'm gonna go back and let's see how much slower it fades in. And there it is. It faded in much slower. Now the other thing then is, if you're going to use the same transition the whole time, which I actually recommend when you're editing things here, is you should actually you can easily just right click right here where these two things come together. If I right click, there's an option that says apply default transitions. And basically, if you used cross dissolve at the beginning, it'll be cross dissolve between those two clips. And just to illustrate this, I'm going to select apply default transitions. And what you'll notice is if I click here, this fade out, and it faded out and it dissolved into the next. And that actually works in a, like, I'm going to go to the next transition between what happened in the slide versus the video. Right click, apply default transitions, and notice, sure enough, it fades, it crossfades. And so one of the benefits of using the same transition over and over again, in addition to not confusing your audience, it's just a really easy thing to do when you're piecing together a timeline. So you right click, apply default transitions, sure enough, it cross dissolves. You can get a look though at a different type. We can film dissolve. I don't recommend morph cut unless you're doing interviews. If you're doing an interview and the same person is talking in the interview, doing a morph cut is a cool thing, and I can illustrate that in a separate video. But for the most part, you want to just do very easy cross dissolves for your transitions between things. And you'll notice, like, so there you go. That's how you basically put transitions between your items. You pick the transition that you want. And just as a quick recap, I'm going to go all the way back to the very beginning, like the media browser of our stuff. So these were all of our project files earlier. But to get to your video transitions and other special effects, you just click here, you pick effects, and then to get your transitions, you pick video transitions. Dissolve is the most commonly used one. So that's basically how you apply transitions between things on your timeline.